welcome to This Day and happy Monday. It is August 8th. We do have a couple of meetings to tell you about today, so let's just take a look. At 11:30 this morning, we have the third Architectural Control and Standards Committee meeting, and that will be in the boardroom as well as virtual. And then this afternoon at 1:30, we have the GRF Budget Business Plan Review. And that will be in the boardroom virtually, as well as televised right here on Village Television. And that would mean that our movie will be moved back to 3:30 today, so you'll catch that regardless of how long the meeting is at. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at who's on our show. We have Jim Hopkins here on behalf of the Golden Rain Foundation. He's got some updates for us. And then Paul sat down with Becky Lamaka of O'Connor Mortuary, and we're going to learn about some of the things that they provide. Let's take a look at our weather. Well, we had a beautiful weekend, a little warm, but humidity is kicking back in again. So our week is going to be quite a bit warmer than the numbers that I'm stating here. Today we will have some high clouds, but the humidity will make it feel like 90, 85, 72. Partly sunny tomorrow, but real feel is 89. Then Wednesday, mostly sunny, humidity again, real feel 89. And then Thursday, it's going to be quite hot, 90, 68. But again, our humidity is kicking in to make it more like 96. Then on Friday, we have 88, 65. Very warm, but our humidity is starting to subside. All right, our sunrise this morning was at 6:09, and our sunset will be at 7:54. And Cole, he was hanging out in Laguna Woods and got a great shot of a rainbow. I believe that was when we had a little monsoonal moisture about a week or so ago. Thanks for sending that in. And if you have a photo that you would like to share with our community, preferably something that you have visited on vacation, Laguna Woods Village TV at gmail.com. Send that on over. Make sure it is high resolution and it is your original photo, and we will air it as soon as we can. We do have some great submissions so far, so send us on over your photo and we will include it on our morning program this day. All right, when we come back, we'll have Jim Hopkins. Stick around.
.4M Dental Implant Center wants to give you something to smile about. Get our next generation one-day implants with the best deal we've ever offered. Take $2,500 off, plus an exam, CT scan, and x-rays for free. That's a $4,000 value. Our next generation implants are stronger and more natural looking than anything else available. See the difference with a free virtual consultation. Call 800-4M Dental now to leave your embarrassing teeth in the past with our special offer.
We are the first light after a cancer diagnosis.
The illuminated entry point to life-saving cancer therapies and novel treatments
often sought by the rest of the world.
We are a dedicated team of more than 400 physicians
and 1,000 scientists and researchers.
We are cancer-focused, but human-centric.
We are thousands of breakthrough discoveries.
We are where cancer stops
and life keeps on getting lived.
The future of cancer treatment is here.
Diane's Hallmark in Laguna Niguel is now an Elam's Hallmark, and we are excited to be part of your community. We have just remodeled, and you will be surprised by the wide variety of fashion and accessories, home decor, collectibles, Disney, Peanuts, Harry Potter, and Star Wars, along with the largest Hallmark card selection in town. Stop in today and sign up for our Crown Rewards program and get a free Just Because card. Once a member, you can get a free card once a month. Elam's Hallmark, your neighborhood gift store.
Welcome to Balbina's Mexican Restaurant. Stop by and experience the most authentic Mexican food in the region. We are serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have a very extensive Mexican wine list from Valle de Guadalupe and the center of Mexico. Visit us for breakfast and lunch from 8 in the morning to 2 p.m. and for dinner from 5 to 9 p.m. Stop by on Wednesdays and enjoy with half off on all of our wines.
Welcome back. We have Jim Hopkins here, who is here on behalf of GRF. Well, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Lisa, and yourself?
Excellent,
Good,
excellent.
good,
Nice
good.
to see you here. It's been a little while, glad you could make it in, and I know you've got a lot of things to cover.
Yeah, we just have a few things to cover. I'm going to be very specific about ITAC, and I'll explain that a little later.
Okay, perfect. So you're talking, well, you do have that kind of at the beginning, but you have some other things you wanted to start with, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, really, I just wanted to say that I'm the treasurer of GRF, and we're just coming out of budget season. And so we'll be presenting the budget, in fact, today at an open meeting at 1:30 today. And I think we'll all be pleasantly, not surprised if you've been watching, but I think we'll be very pleasant considering the 9% inflation that we're going into today. So you'll be pleasantly surprised if you haven't been watching.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So when you talk about some of the things that you have to put into, the budget, I mean, it's a large community.
Oh, it's super large. In fact, I believe it may be one of the largest HOAs in the country, and of course we're self-governed, and our HOA is basically part of us.
Yes.
So that makes us unique in terms of our involvement in both the community and the budget process.
Right.
So it involves all 40-some directors.
Yes.
And getting us all on the same page can be a unique challenge.
Right. Okay. So now, being the treasurer, you would be in charge of accounting and finance?
Well, I wouldn't say in charge, but we certainly have a big influence over the direction that we go into, because we can put everything in a language that a financial language that people understand. And that's the goal, because I look at finance as being a separate, in some cases, a separate language.
Yes.
And to be able to translate those debits and credits and those types of things into a usable language that anybody can understand in terms of how it impacts them. That's kind of the goal of the committee. And to review the financial impact of things that we need and want to do.
Right. Now, tell me about your past a little bit. Were you in the finance field?
Wow, yes. Well, I've got a 50 or more year career. I started off in accounting and rose. I started with IBM, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I rose through the ranks, I went to pricing, planning, accounting, controllership, just a lot of different opportunities. They say I wasn't good at anything, so they kept moving me along. But, and then after that, I decided to go off on my own. I started my own company, printing company. That didn't do very well. It was in the middle of the recession.
Sure.
And so I've had a lot of different exposures, I would say, and it hasn't been monolithic in the sense that it's just been finance. I've had operational activities, been CFO of a couple of smaller companies, 100, 200 million and less, that type of thing. So it's been, and I'm kind of I have wanderlust, so, I get the job done and I move on.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. I think that's good. I mean, obviously, you're perfect for the position that you have here now. Talk to me a little bit about Enterprise Resource Planning System. What is that?
Wow. Yes, we call it ERP.
Okay.
And the ITAC committee, and that's the Information Technology Advisory Committee, is responsible for, first of all, seeking out what we need as an ERP. And the ERP is, think of a huge app, all right? I think of it as a huge app. And it's basically the underpinnings of everything that we do here in this sense. Early on, it would have been called an accounting system. And that goes back maybe 70-some years. As we've grown in terms of, as the technology has grown, it basically now is the lifeblood of almost everything administratively that's being done in an enterprise. And so instead of calling it an accounting system, we then call it a business management system. The new terminology is ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning System, which tries to encompass everything that it does. It's huge. Our ERP was prior to this initiative was simply two very major programs that we tried to marry and put together, and they were aging. And so somewhere, I'm going to say in late 2019, a group of directors decided to form a software research committee.
Yeah.
And so when they formed that, and then they formed their basis for research, and then eventually that research was given to the ITAC committee, the newly formed ITAC committee, and that ITAC committee went through, using that basis, a combination of maybe 12 to 15 different vendors.
Wow.
To determine what software, and I hate using that term because
Yeah.
it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
But to determine the software that we would be using, and then how to implement it.
Okay.
And so that's the process we're in right now. Is
Okay.
what we've already decided which one. That was decided back in February, I believe, of this year.
Okay.
Okay. And then we kicked off the process. We negotiated with our vendor. We kicked off the process in actually May 30th.
Okay.
May 30th, we kicked off the process. So now we're in a pretty detailed process of understanding our needs and our wants.
Well, what do you hope to accomplish with this system?
Well, it's an interesting thing because most people don't see the system itself.
Yeah.
They just see the results of it. I like to think of it, when people ask me what is ERP, think of it as you have a circulatory system and you have a nervous system. You never see that circulatory system or that nervous system, but yet you know when it's starting to go wrong, when it's starting to age. And so ours was starting to age. And so given the technology that's available today, we're going in a completely, not different direction, because that's where the modern direction is, but we're going to put everything up into the cloud.
Oh, right.
Okay, think of it as Microsoft Word you used to buy, every 5 years you had to buy a new one. Okay? We will no longer have to buy a new one.
Gotcha.
It's all in the cloud, okay? And it's going to stay updated by virtue of our vendor. In this case, it's going to be Microsoft 365.
Okay.
Or actually, that's the software. It's going to stay up to date because they're going to be constantly updating their cloud-based software.
Okay.
So it's going to basically change how we do things and change the results.
So change how we do things, but you're not. That's in the background, though, right?
In the background.
So
yes.
we're still going to operate like resident services still operates the way it does. Your accounting and other things still operate the same way. It's just now your background is just different. But hopefully it'll provide you more resources and, like you said, charts and reports and things that may be more up to date than what you've had before.
Absolutely. We're hoping that everything be paperless. Now we know that's an impossible task, but that's the goal.
Okay.
And so the staff will have enormous amount of reports, details to be able to manage and become a lot more efficient. Rather than preparing things, they'll be now analyzing things to help provide a much better service to us residents.
Well, in some cases, that will certainly save a lot of time.
Absolutely, and we're looking to avoid some of the natural increases that'll happen as a result of the staffing increase, not staffing increases, but wage increases, inflationary increases, and all those kind of things. Those are inevitable. Okay. I mean, the world, that's what's going on in the world. And the only way to avoid some of those is to become more efficient, and that's what this will do for us.
That's great.
Yes.
Now, how will you be rolling this out?
Okay, well, we're going to start with what people think of as the end result first. In other words, finance will be the first ones to take advantage of the new systems. Everything comes into finance eventually, okay? As a result, we look at everything as, what are the results? They call it results of operations, actually, is what the statements are called. And so we're going to start with finance, and that's in process right now. We've had over 40 meetings within finance, the vendor has, to understand what they do, how they do it, look at the things that they do, what can be done better, what do you wish to be done differently, okay? And by working with the teams or the staff, our vendor, which is Advantico, Advantico, will be then assessing and then looking at, okay, here's what you want, here's what you do, here's what you want to do. What are the gaps the gaps to what you want to do, as well as best practices, because our industry isn't new. So there are some best practices that in some cases our current software does not allow us to practice.
Okay.
The new software will allow that and give us a lot better analysis, management knowledge of what's going on a real-time basis.
Sounds like a great solution, something that you definitely had to dive into. 40 meetings.
Oh yeah.
For one company, that's a lot. That means,
and that's just the accounting and finance.
Yeah, I would imagine it's going to keep going.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much for the update. I really appreciate it. Great information.
Right.
And when you guys are, knee deep in all that, come back again.
Okay.
And tell us how. Woo.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And if you have any questions about what we've just discussed or comments, you can always send an email to generalmanager@vmsinc.org and it will get directed to the right person. We'll be right back.
Joining us now on the program is Becky Lamaka, a longtime, you've actually been on our program for, I want to say 15, 20 years now.
I have, a long time.
Yeah, you're the Director of Grief and Education for O'Connor Mortuary. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Kind of a tough subject, but tell us a little bit, what is grief? And it's interesting how people handle grief in such a different way, and the timing of grief, because some people might show grief right away, and some people show grief even months and years after, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people think of O'Connor Mortuary, they think, someone I care about has died and I have to engage services through O'Connor to care for the deceased. And that is a big part of what we do, is caring for the deceased. Yet a big part of our role is to also come alongside the grieving. And as you said, people grieve in very different ways. We kind of look at it as on a spectrum. You have people who are more instrumental grievers, who grieve by doing, and then you have people who are grievers who maybe show their emotion a little bit more. What I always say to people, because they're like, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. We all grieve in our own unique way.
Right.
And the other thing people ask me is, when is this going to be done? When am I going to be feeling better? And the news they don't want to hear is it's really never going to be done. We never stop grieving. I don't like the word getting over it or closure or recovering from grief, because a little piece of us will always have that person in our heart. There will be a song that comes on or something that happens that will bring us back to and remind us of that individual. The good news is grief is fluid, and grief is really about learning how to take this loss that has impacted us in such a profound way and learning to incorporate it into our lives, learning to adapt our lives around this loss. And most of us do that over time, and we move forward.
Right.
So that's the good news for people who are grieving. Very early on in our grief, it can seem like, we get this tunnel vision, and our world as we know it has really ended. Yet over time, we adapt, we learn to integrate that loss into our lives, and down the road, more happy memories than tears.
Right. And grief is different depending on where you are in your life as well, because you're like, oh, okay, I've already kind of done this before, and it's maybe somebody that's very common to you, but then 5 years from now, someone similar, you might just have grief in a totally different way. So it really depends too where you are in your life too.
And that's the other thing I will say to families and to grievers who are calling to talk with me or meeting with me, because sometimes people want to prioritize their grief. And really, we can't do that. I mean, we grieve what we grieve. Sometimes we can have a pet who dies, and that pet has been our world, and we are grieving that death maybe more than we grieve the death of a human in our lives, because in that moment in time, that is how that's impacted us. We grieve non-death losses too, right? The ability to, maybe we aren't able to drive anymore, or maybe losing eyesight due to macular degeneration. Maybe we've had a stroke and learning to rebuild one side of our body. So those are all things that we grieve too. And we can't always prioritize. I say to families and I say to individuals who are grieving, as we have a tendency to want to push it away, and we want to isolate ourselves, rather than pushing those feelings away, take some time to lean into those feelings and accept them and examine them. And after you do that, then move toward people versus moving away from people.
Yeah. Do you find people question their mortality too when they go through this process? Because, because death, to some people is such a final chapter, but it kind of makes you think like, okay, what am I doing in my life, and what do I want to do in the next 5 to 25 years?
I absolutely think that's true. I think we can't help but think of our own mortality when someone we know, someone we care about dies. And yes, I think one of the things we do naturally in grief too is we take those character qualities of that person, right? And we think about those, and we think about, gosh, you know what? I want to be like Sandy. I really want to incorporate. Sandy was always making sure she took care of all of the friends in the group, and I want to do that too. And so absolutely we think about that, and we think about what can I take away from that relationship and incorporate into my life.
Right. What are some of the don'ts when it comes to grief? There's got to be a couple of things. It's like, you really shouldn't, at least right now I'm just thinking, okay, isolate yourself.
Yeah.
You need to get out there, get some education through someone like yourself, and reach out to family members and friends.
Well, one of the things I say to people is I say, don't should yourself. Don't should yourself, right? I should be here in this process already, or I should be doing this. And I agree, I do say don't isolate yourselves, but there are times when you do need the solitude and you need the contemplation. So again, listening to your body, knowing yourself, leaning into your feelings and examining them. Maybe you need a couple hours or a couple of days to have some solitude, and then say, okay, and then I'm going to call my one good friend who I know isn't going to push me too hard, and go have lunch or go have breakfast and do that. So it's okay to feel how you feel, and don't let other people who say you should be getting over this, or you should be moving on, or you should move his clothes out of the closet. You do what feels right for you.
Right. And every situation is different.
Every single situation is different. We are all unique grievers.
Right. Well, that's why it's so important. O'Connor Mortuary has been in our community in Orange County, 40, 50 years. I know the O'Connor family, Neil's father actually started. I think his grandfather actually even started. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah. It is. We're getting ready to actually celebrate our 125th year. Yes.
Oh, that's a pretty long time.
The firm started in 1898. So yes, this family has been coming alongside grieving families for way beyond you and me.
Right.
So that is really their gift to the community is through my role, through education, through providing grief resources. And you don't need to be using our mortuary to call and speak with me and help me help you connect with some of the resources that are available in the community if you feel like you're struggling a little bit.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I was going to ask you, because a lot of people, like we just talked about, they experience grief at different timelines. And so if they could just go to o'connormortuary.com, they could just look up your information. And if they just want to talk on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes, no commitment, and just help you through a process that may be very difficult for you.
Absolutely. And I will also say, always welcome to take phone calls. And we have a magnificent grief and healing section on our website too. That is free. We have wonderful brochures that are downloadable, great articles. So please take advantage of that resource too.
And located real close to us, I believe just right off Alicia and Paseo de Valencia. So it's probably right outside of Gate 4 down the street by Laguna Hills High School.
Yes,
so it's less than a 5-minute drive away. Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the program. I know it's a difficult subject, but an important one. And when people are suffering from grief, or even someone that's hopefully, well, not hopefully, someone that's dealing with, even someone that has Alzheimer's or just an illness, that's part of that grieving process
sure
too.
is.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Right. Thanks so much for joining us on the program today.
Always good to see you.
Yeah. That's
Thanks.
Becky LaMacca. She's with O'Connor Mortuary. If you want more information, go to their website, o'connormortuary.com. Well, we'll be right back with more of our program right after this.
Welcome back. Our movie today is great. It is called The Wonderful Stories from the Space Station. So an astronaut went up in space, and it's personal testimony from the men and women who've been part of the International Space Station. And it's a remarkable collaboration of different types of photos and information that is shared by all. And you can catch that today a bit later because we have a meeting. But you can see it at 3:30 this afternoon and also at 6 with closed captioning, and then it's brought to you by Hogue. And just a couple of other announcements. We've got Splash Days coming up here. It is going to be the end of the week. It's August 12th, noon to 4 at Pool 2. And please remember to get your wristband at Clubhouse 2 or the Recreation Office because you do need to have that for admission. You can get in touch with recreation at vmsinc.org for more information. And Elvis is in the house. He is going to be here on August 12th at the Performing Arts Center. There are tickets still available, so please make sure that you go to tickets.lagunawoodsvillage.com or you can call 415-497-3621 and get more information about the show that's coming up. All right, let's take a look at our weather. As I mentioned earlier, it is going to be very humid this week. So all the temperatures that you see on the screen are just baseline. However, because of the humidity, it will feel quite a bit hotter. Today it could feel like 90, tomorrow 89, the day after that 89, and very warm on Friday 96. And on Thursday, and then on Friday 88, 65. Have a great day in the village. We'll see you again tomorrow right here at 9 a.m. Bye-bye.
As we advance through the years, challenges in our daily activities arise. Lake Forest Services hire caregivers that go through stringent screening and compliance processes for assistance in all daily activities. Qualified veterans may also receive care as a VA benefit. We also provide full-service palliative and hospice care through Lake Forest Hospice. Our medical director and his team accommodates house calls to those in need. We exist to create seamless transitions that enhance quality of life.
Village Television presents Friday Films, only on Village Television. Fridays at 2 and 6 p.m. Foreign films, dramas, and comedies. Award-winning films, romance and mystery. Independent films. Every Friday, only on Village Television.